And now, the Sons of Liberty show on the CB Media Network.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
We've been fighting a long time, and we've all lost so very much, so many loved ones gone. But you are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink.
Live from Central Virginia, it's Saturday night!
Now we find ourselves facing a tyranny that has been infused with new blood, and it is rapidly becoming an engorged, hard tyranny. And yes, I know you gutter-minded listeners picked up on that not-so-subtle metaphor. I used it on purpose because a hard tyranny serves one purpose and one purpose only, to screw its subjects. No force, no attitude, no emotion, no nation, no person can hold any modicum of power, much less utter dominion over a sovereign individual, except through the sanction that is given by that individual.
But for me, leading a worldwide depression.
In doing so, we will honor the vows of our founders, who in the Declaration of Independence said that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This legislation will lead to healthier lives, more liberty to pursue hope and dreams and happiness.
Federal government, yes, can and do most anything in this country.
Just who the hell do you think you people are?
There's your dichotomy, folks. Do you want to be treated like children, or do you want to be treated like adults with brains of your own who can make your own decisions? That's the bottom line between new progressivism, which is really old communism, or conservatism, which is what started this great nation. Which hand are you going to choose?
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Good evening, everyone. Your Iron Man of classical liberal thought, Bradley Reese, here on the Sons of Liberty show, and a first for conservative broadcast media here on Spreaker since we moved over from Blog Talk Radio. Finally able to get a guest on the show. We haven't figured out the call-in deal quite yet with Spreaker, but I pre-recorded this interview Wednesday night with musician Mark Scudder. Those of you familiar with the Sons of Liberty show know that I have interviewed authors, filmmakers, and musicians on the show before. It's a great thrill to have Mark Scudder on the show tonight talking about his music, what he's doing to change the culture, and we've got some of his music embedded in the show tonight, so you get to listen to that as well. So a good treat for you lined up here on the Sons of Liberty show. Without further ado, let's get into it.
We are joined here on the Sons of Liberty show by Mark Scudder, I guess I can't really call you a guitarist because you're doing the whole shebang. You're like a one-man band.
Multi-instrumentalist is what they usually call other people who do that. So
there we go. Yeah, musically multi-dexterous. How about that? Okay. Anyway, Mark Scudder is an interesting musician because he's kind of, grassroots, I guess, which resonates with his audience. Tea Party conservatives, etc. And you know, the interesting thing is Mark has recorded one album actually online, doing the writing and production of music over live stream, and people can sit in on the sessions and watch and interact as it's happening. So it's basically a conference call jam session kind of deal with video, and Mark is actually in the process of recording a second album in much the same manner. And the cool thing is, now I can't remember if you were doing multiple angles on the first album with the cameras, but I know you are now. And
on some of it, I had other cameras going, but not all of it. When I finally started doing vocals, which I left for last on the last record, it just, I mean, I'm not a terribly good singer, and it takes a lot of takes to get what I want, and so I just did the hell with it, and I put up just a live stream camera. But a lot of the instrument sessions, the guitar and bass and keys and stuff like that, I did do multiple cameras.
Cool. So that's and this is I was thinking about this earlier, and I didn't want. I was thinking about not bringing it up, but I'm going to anyway, just because I know kind of from watching your sessions and interacting, kind of your sense of humor. This is the way that Justin Bieber started out. and you're in upstate New York, which is kind of close to Canada. So anyway,
first off, there are many talented musicians in Canada. We don't want to just kick Canada in the gut here by just saying Justin Bieber. I really don't know how Justin Bieber started out. I heard that he was posting performances of his songs to YouTube, and Usher found him and then did all the production for him. So maybe it's not completely fair to say that, because what I'm literally doing is you sit down, and I'm sitting in my home studio, and I'll sit down and say, okay, well, I have this idea that's like half done from whenever ago, and I kind of want to see if we can flesh it out and make it into something. And then I sit down and I start doing all the parts. So there's no Usher, there's no expensive studio in Los Angeles. There's no producer. There's not a guy in the other room making beats. It really is all sort of a one-man operation.
Yeah, so it's basically Justin Bieber in that you're putting it on the internet yourself, and mixed in with a sort of Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails kind of thing, where you're all of the music and the vocals and the lyrics is coming out of your head.
He had an incredible DIY production ethic, early on, and I look at people like Devin Townsend now, who does it all by himself a lot of the time, and in his home. But Trent Reznor really was a pioneer in that way. And besides his politics, I've always sort of counted him as an influence. Though I don't think my stuff sounds anything like that. But just the fact that he got down there and he did everything and he didn't take no for an answer is inspiring from a musical standpoint.
Right. Yeah, and I've always looked at Trent Reznor the same way. Is that just having the wherewithal to say, well, I don't have a band to do all of the things that I want to do. I want my creativity to come out in a way that truly represents me and what I want to do with it. And you don't always have that dynamic in a band situation. So the DIY sort of effort is, it's a great way for you to get that creativity out and have it exactly how you want it. Because I know from being in bands in the past and, not going anywhere with them, but
know just from being in bands, the creative process is, you have an idea in your head going into the process and running it through 4 or 5 different sets of, brains and hands and instruments.
Yeah.
It always ends up coming out different on the other end. So.
Well, there's a good and a bad side to that. I mean, it can go either way. And what I was thinking when you were talking about Trent Reznor is it used to be back when he got popular in the late 80s, early 90s, people, if you have all these ideas and no way to get them out to people, people used to say to you, well, why don't you join a band? And at least they used to say that. Now they say, well, why don't you go on American Idol? And it's like people don't understand that, on American Idol, first off, they're looking for somebody thinner than me, for one thing. They're sort of looking for a figurehead that some guy who does look like me, who works in a big building in Los Angeles and New York City, who writes teeny bopper songs, except he's 48 and divorced. They need to put a face on those teeny bopper songs, and that's what they're looking for. Occasionally they'll let one of these girls write a couple of songs, but essentially it's a game show to produce some buzz around somebody that they're eventually going to give material to. And a lot of and I understand that not everybody goes around with full albums playing in their heads, or the idea that you want to go someplace different with something. So I'm always looking for people, like you, who can help explain that to people, because I know that we're sort of going into uncharted territory here with a lot of people.
Right, exactly, and that's the thing. There are so many people that aren't musically inclined or haven't discovered yet that they're musically inclined. They may like music, but not really have any idea that they can make music. I've had Jared Radnich on the show a couple of times. He's a phenomenal pianist out in California, and he's involved in a lot of projects to bring music to people. He's got a community theater where they just bring people in from the community, just average people, and hand them an instrument and teach them how to play. And it's really amazing because music is really therapeutic as well.
Oh yeah, a lot of people have no idea of just from everything, the mental, emotional, physiological power that music can have, and just listening to it or playing it. Music is. I listen to music when I'm sleeping. I listen to music in the morning. I listen to music when I'm working. I listen to music when I'm in the car. I'm never without something that is sort of helping to push my mood into a certain place.
Right, and that's one of the things I've talked with Jared about, is that music actually mimics human speech as well. So which is why we talked about this. That every commercial that you see on TV will have a musical score behind it.
Right.
Why? Because the music sets a mood. It sets an energy level. It can convey all of these things that maybe the spoken word can't if you don't choose the precise spoken word. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, like a lot of people who would listen to this last album, or whatever, or what I'm doing now, might not know, but there are some times when I have to really, when I really have to calm down and relax, and there are actually a couple of things I listen to you wouldn't even think. Like there's a guy in Los Angeles now, named Chuck Wild. He used to be in Missing Persons, the new wave band Missing Persons, but now he does this almost sort of mathematically concocted synth new agey, relaxing sort of music that just sort of flows and washes over you. It's such a slow tempo that you're not even paying attention to what's going on. It's just sort of relaxing you. And then there's a guy out of Arizona, I think, named John Siri, who does the same sort of stuff. He's done music for planetariums. And I actually listen to a lot of stuff, for the purpose of helping to lower the energy level at the end of the day or whatever, that you wouldn't even think of. So my tastes are, are all over the spectrum.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, we've talked about Trent Reznor and Devin Townsend, who are kind of, are a little bit more heavy as far as the music is concerned. And Trent Reznor is more, electronica, industrial. Devin Townsend is really all over the map when you explore his catalog. But, and I mean, I familiarized myself with Devin Townsend from Strapping Young Lad, which is definitely heavy. Yeah. So that was my first experience with him. Actually, seen them in concert a couple of times and was just blown away. But and to hear some of the other stuff that he's done is like, that's the same guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he put out this album called Ghost a year and a half ago. And he's got Kat Epple on it, who was in a New Age duo when we were kids named called Emerald Webb. And I think she's American, but it was just one of these things that it was one of those weird New Agey sort of things that he listened to when he was a kid. And when he was ready to do some of that music, he called her up and he said, I want you to play on this album. And she said, sure. And I think that's such a great story to be able to go back to somebody who one of your formative influences. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now we've talked about other people and kind of the genesis of this thing, and I guess we should get into specifically your music, the album that is already out, and it's available on iTunes, by the way, or on Mark's website. And I should go ahead and give that out for the listeners while I'm thinking about it. MarkScudder.com. It's MarkScudder.com, and you can find the album there. It's called "The Solution Is the Problem," and you can also find it on iTunes, as I said. And I think it's digital download in both places.
Yeah, I did. I mean, if anybody absolutely needs a physical CD, that they can let me know. They just have to be ordered, and it's a pain. And I have to order them in small batches because I'm not Justin Bieber, right? So the digital download is a lot easier if you can handle it. It's on iTunes, it's on Amazon, it's on a bunch of places. I usually say wherever digital music is sold. But
that's the thing too. I don't know too many people anymore that actually carry around CDs.
Sometimes
everybody has
playing Sometimes if I'm playing a physical, if I'm playing a venue, I like to go in with CDs because CDs are still great impulse buys. If I had $1 for every time somebody said, "Yeah, man, as soon as I get home, I'll download your stuff," I wouldn't be selling music. Everybody says that, and nobody ever does.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing is that now, in 2013 now, the cell phone is ubiquitous, and even your standard run-of-the-mill flip phone has MP3 capabilities. So, so it's easy to download and transfer it over to a micro SD card and stick it in your phone, and if nothing else. Now personally, I like CDs just for the tactile sensation and the liner notes and all of that. But the cool thing is with The Solution Is the Problem, you're not just getting the digital download. You can also get the PDF with the liner notes. So you've got the artwork, you've got the lyrics, the whole 9 yards right there. So basically everything that you would have with a physical CD without having to, go through the ordeal of unwrapping the damn thing, and then,
I could just put some MP3s up on a free web host someplace and call it a day. But that comes from my love of liner notes, and you as well probably grew up with records, and I still have a bunch of records, and nobody has really duplicated that feeling of like a gatefold 12-inch album with the booklet, photos and the sleeve and everything, and so I at least try and go back to the CD booklet paradigm. But I'll tell you, a lot of these digital stores, they'll accept your music, but they won't accept the booklet. And iTunes specifically, for some reason, will not accept PDF booklets that have the same dimensions as a CD booklet. So you have to design something completely different from them in a completely different shape, more like a widescreen movie image. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not